Hello, everybody. Welcome to another Wine Thursday. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So nice to be, of course, live stream again. We're starting with a new argument today, which is not going to be related, or at least it's partially related with wine, but we're not talking about wine specifically. We're actually going to speak about grappa and how grappa is made. So we're going to cover the entire process of distillation. So it's not about fermentation, but this time it's about this distillation of the vinaccio, of the skins of the grapes. And we're going to learn a little bit more about what kind of grappa we actually produce in Montemaggio. So first of all, hope that everybody's doing fine, that everybody's doing well. And as always, I'm gonna give a couple of minutes, to the people to join us. Before we actually start to speak about grappa and the process, I want to just show you very quickly the type of grappa we produce. This is the Grappa Riserva, which is by far, in my opinion, the best product if you like very fine and very velvety distillate. And then we got also the young grappa, which is this one, which is obviously a little bit more, let's say, a little bit more crisp and a little bit more, I would say, spiting a little bit more and perfect digestive, especially if you have a very kind of like heavy meal, I would say. So let's, learn how, grappa is produced, which unlike the other spirit is obtained from distillation of a solid product, which is pomace actually, which is vinacci in Italian. Pomace is the waste product obtained following the pressing of the grapes in the production of wine. In order for the pomace to be used in the production of grappa, it must be healthy, first of all, fresh and fairly moist. It must not have been 100% pressed before. So this is very important to remember. So the idea is that you want to start with a fresh product. So immediately after the fermentation, we're also going to cover about the topic a little bit more into the details. But immediately after fermentation, we want to start, to collect the vinaccio, the pomace, in order to be able to prepare it for the distillation, the following distillation of the grappa. So proceed. The fermentation of the pomace, it's a very important. It's a very important part. What I'm trying to say is that you want to first of all, to ferment the skins and the juice obtained from the pressing of the grapes in order to be able to create a wine. You separate the wine from the skins, and then you want to reuse at that point the skins. So before the pomace is done for distillation, it must be, again, as I told you, fermented. If we want to summarize what it is, fermentation is the process by which sugars are transformed into alcohol. Distillation could not take place except from raw material that already contains alcohol. So the idea is that you're going to extract the alcohol that is contained into the leftover of the skins after the fermentation. That's the principle of grappa production, distillate in general production. Like that, distillate like that. That's the type of production you want, type of method of production you wanna have. So to the distillery comes marks, so vinacci that have already been fermented, those from which red wines have been made, actually, unfermented marks from which white wines have been made, or partially fermented marks, so also partially fermented vinacci, those from red grapes but used to make, for example, rosé. And the last two cases, so when you got partially fermented or unfermented pomace, in the last two cases, the fermentation is induced in order to obtain pomace ready for actual distillation. So again, fermentation is a necessity before the actual distillation. So whenever you have a situation where you got, some marks on pomace, some vinacci that are not fermented or are partially fermented, at the distillery, they have to complete or to make from scratch the fermentation in order to be able to distillate then a product. That's the idea. So let's speak about the actual distillation. Distillation is a process used to separate the alcohol and the aromatic substances from the rest of the starting compounds. In this case, we're talking about the the vinacce. And the distillation requires a still, which can be continuous for industrial production, actually for industrial say massive production, or discontinuous when it comes about artisanal production. Artisanal production, obviously, it's a little bit something you can find especially in certain part of Italy, but generally speaking, it's not permitted anymore, or at least it's really rare that you find a product like this. So generally speaking, Grappa is coming from different type of production, I would say, at this point. Anyway, keeping speaking about distillation, the distillation process takes place by heating through a steam boiler or direct fire the pomace, reaching a temperature of about 80 degrees Celsius. The alcoholic vapors begins to evaporate until, upon meeting the cold copper tube, which is cooled by running water beside it. The vapor condense, return into a liquid state, and here is our distillate. So I'm going to show you now the actual machine. This is a machine that is frequently used. Beautiful, beautiful, gorgeous machine. And again, what I was telling you, the distillation process takes place by heating up from steam boiler, reaching a temperature again of 80 degrees Celsius. The alcoholic vapors begin to evaporate until, upon meeting the cold upper part tube, which is cooled by running water again, the vapor condense. So that's pretty much the principle, and it's a very fascinating process. When it comes about the grappa specifically, there is, however, to say that it's not so simple. In fact, if we drank all the distillate produced from the beginning of the distillation to the end, we would have quite a few problems, since in the distillation process, substances that are considered toxic for the human being, they're actually toxic for the human being, such as methanol, are also extracted from the pomace, which must necessarily be discouraged through the so-called rectification, or rettificazione in Italiano. So the idea is that you wanna adjust at a certain point. You wanna be able to separate the good part, the good component, and the good grappa at that point from the methanol, and this is actually pretty important to do. The various substances that make up distillates evaporate at different temperatures. So this is the first thing to clarify, which allows the distiller to easily select the head of the distillate, containing methanol indeed, and other substances toxic again to the humans. The heart of the distillate, containing ethanol alcohol and other valuable aromatic substances. And finally, we got also the tail, which is containing fatty and oily substances that are also not so considered something that you don't want to drink, because although they are not toxic, would adversely affect the overall quality of the grappa. So now we need to understand how can we also not only separate the head from the central part and the tail, that we actually quite understood. Now we just have to wait a certain moment when the other substances evaporate, but we need to understand how we can fix the alcoholic parameter. Every newly produced distillate as an alcohol content, I would say not very compatible with human consumption, as it ranges between 70 up to 85 percentage. For the product to be appreciated and to be balanced, it's necessary to lower the alcohol content in a range between 37.5 and 60 percentage. The reduction of the alcohol volume is achieved by adding pure spring water to the distillate until the distillate reaches the alcohol content desired by the distiller, which varies depending on different factors, actually pretty multifactorial thing, such as the grape variety used, the possible aging, and the type of grappa that you want to obtain. So you can see it's pretty actually simple. It's a very beautiful kind of like traditional product. So simple, but you have to be so precise. And again, this is happening with this kind of machine. Now, let's speak a little bit about the aging of the grappa, because as I told you, we actually produce also the grappa Riserva. And, grappa, unlike whiskeys, does not necessarily have to be aged before being consumed. So there are also, young grappa, white grappas, as I show you before, as I shown you, it's this grappa di Montemaggio, which is a white one, and but there are a lot of there are super high quality, or considered actually the best barricate, which are very particular and that are kept for several years. Young grappa, as I told you, they have this dry taste and fruity aroma related to the characteristic of the grapes that are used. And generally speaking, we got Sangiovese here, so we have anyway the expression of Sangiovese. The one that are aged, they have different type of aromas also coming from the wooden barrel, and this is consider also let's say an added value. It's also the balance that they got from the aging process, because obviously aging process is going to be just like in wine, to balance out a little bit the product in general. So that's pretty much the idea. Anyway, this is actually everything you have to know about the production of grappa, at least the basic knowledge. And again, this is pretty much the machine that you're going to use for grappa production. It's obviously an industrial one, and although it's pretty traditional, there are also smaller type of let's say kind of machine that you can find that are used for artisanal production. As I told you, anyway, in Italy it's not going to be allowed anymore to produce artisanal grappa. You can maybe find in some areas some old farmers that are doing that in the traditional artisanal way, but it's still something that is very rare. Usually now we have the big distilleries that are doing that, but anyway, they are producing very top quality, high quality profile kind of product. Anyway, for today it's everything. For me, it's always a pleasure to be able to do this little chat about the word of wine, and at this point also the word of spirits. Maybe we're going to spend a little bit more time talking about spirits. And so I hope you're doing fine. If you have any type of question, just leave a comment down below. It will be a pleasure for me to answer to all of us, from all of us, of the Fattoria di Montemaggio. A big thank you, because you're all supporting us so much, and that mean really so much for the whole team. So whenever you have a question, just let us know. And if you want, I want to remind you that we are always available for wine tasting. Just let us know, just call us. We're going to be able, most probably, to organize a little tasting. We're always so glad when people are coming over for tasting. And it's always like the best part of our job, to be able to communicate our passion for the wine and for the winemaking. So whenever you want, just call us. We're there. So again, for today, it's everything. Thank you so much, and see you next time. Ciao.